to answer them either by phone call, or we can follow up with email as well, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with us following the presentation. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. I'm going to turn this over to Liz, who's going to tell you a lot about Eagle's Nest and all of our programs, and thank you again for making time to join us tonight. Sorry, I'm going to just jump in really quickly and tell Liz, I believe that you're still muted.
Hello.
I can hear you now. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Paige. I was just saying that I'm excited you all are here tonight, and I'm going to share with you some pictures and slides all about Eagle's Nest so you can learn about camp and Hante and all of our 2016 programs. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse my webcam, and we'll go straight to the presentation. So our mission here at Eagle's Nest is experiential education for young people, promoting the natural world and the betterment of human character. And everything that we do at camp moves towards those goals. We're an independent, nonprofit organization, and we're accredited by the American Camp Association, which is a fancy way of saying that it's a very fun and very safe place for kids to be. Eagle's Nest is a co-ed camp for kids from kindergarten all the way up through 9th grade, and we really even have programs that last throughout high school as well. We have 1, 2, and 3-week sessions, and we do have scholarships available because we want to make camp accessible to everyone who wants to be here. Now, because you can start coming to camp at such a young age, kindergarten, and go all the way up through your 12th grade year, we have a number of programs that campers can grow into over their time at Eagle's Nest. I'm going to explain these more in depth in a few minutes, but I want to give you an idea of this progression of programs that we have here at Eagle's Nest. First of all, we have added adventures, which are shorter trips off campus for a small group of campers. We have Hante adventures, which are wilderness and cultural adventures that go all over the world. We have a junior counselor leadership program. This is for rising 11th and 12th graders. And then finally, we have the Outdoor Academy. So the Outdoor Academy is a semester school where 10th graders come and spend either their fall or spring semester, and they live here on our campus and take all of their classes here on campus and create a very tight-knit community. During the week, they're engaged in rigorous academics, and then during the weekends, they are outside doing outdoor programming. So they're going on backpacking trips, and they're whitewater paddling, and they're rock climbing nearby. There are only 12 semester schools like this in the entire United States, so it's a very unique experience. We would love to answer more questions about the Outdoor Academy, but tonight we're going to talk primarily about Camp and Hante Adventures, which are our summer programs. Eagle's Nest Camp has been around for a long, long time. This is going to be our 89th summer. So back in 1927, Eagle's Nest was founded on the principles and philosophies of education for the whole child. And all of our programs today are based on those same philosophies. And many of the traditions and things that were happening way back then are still happening today. For example, this is called Goodnight Circle, and this is the way we all say goodnight every single night at camp. So we love being able to honor those old, rich traditions, but we also create new traditions every single summer as new campers join us at Eagle's Nest. At the root of everything amazing that happens at camp is our staff. And this group of people are truly awesome. The majority of them have been campers themselves and have grown up through our programs and really have a strong desire to come back and to create the magic that they experienced for a new generation of campers. Many of them are in school studying education, or they're already educators, so they truly care about teaching children and being incredible role models for kids. So people ask me what sets Eagle's Nest apart from other camps, and it's a one-word answer. It's definitely community. The Eagle's Nest community is a place where you can truly come and be your very best self. So we have a large camp community that every single person is a part of, but we also have 3 smaller communities that each camper has a part in. So the first of those is your cabin. And your cabin is where you live when you're at camp. There are 6 boys' cabins and 6 girls' cabins. They all have their own personality, but as you can see in this picture, they have screened-in windows, they have electricity, they each have bathrooms and showers, and they're quite nice. There are 10 to 14 campers per cabin and 3 to 4 counselors, so we are always maintaining a 4-to-1 camper to counselor ratio at the least. The second of those small communities is your tribe, and tribes are a place of belonging within the larger camp community. There are 4 tribes at Eagle's Nest, 2 boys tribes and 2 girls tribes. And on one of the first nights of camp, you are introduced to your tribe, or you rejoin your tribe if you've come to camp in previous years. It's great to have this sense of community within your tribe because you all band together, you have certain traditions that you withhold each and every summer, and it's a really neat way to feel connected to another group at camp. The third of those small communities is your table family, and table families are unique to Eagle's Nest. They're groups of 3 boys and 3 girls of all different ages and 2 staff members, and they eat every single meal together every day for the entire session. You grow incredibly close to this group of people. As a staff member, I really love table families because it gives me the chance to check in with the same 6 campers 3 times a day to make sure that they're doing well, that they're having fun in their activities, and that they're enjoying their time at camp. So speaking of food, the food at Eagle's Nest is incredible. We have a Whole Foods kitchen, so everything that we eat is made from scratch. We're eating great kid-friendly foods like pizza and tacos and burritos, but they're healthier versions of these things. We also pull a lot of our vegetables from our garden, so kids will actually dig up the potatoes that they'll see on their plate later in the week. Each camper also has the opportunity to make bread for the entire camp at least once during the session. So they'll come in with their cabin group after breakfast and they'll make the bread that they'll see on the table that night at dinner. And it's really important for campers to see where their food is coming from and to understand their important role within our community. So we have 4 activity periods each day. There are 2 between breakfast and lunch and 2 between lunch and dinner. And on one of the first days of camp, campers choose their own activities. So at Eagle's Nest, campers don't go around with their cabin groups. They get to choose on their own what they would like to take while they're at camp. We just ask that they choose at least one activity from each of the 3 categories I'm about to show you. The first of those is wilderness. So these are things like rock climbing, whitewater paddling, backpacking, Young Explorers Club, really anything that's out in the woods. And there are about 10 to 15 different activities that you can choose from within this category. The next category is arts, music, and drama. So these are things like ceramics, traditional arts and crafts, batik, learning how to play guitar or any other music, drama. We have a big musical every summer. There are all sorts of offerings within that category as well. And athletics encompasses things like swimming, horseback riding, ultimate frisbee, archery, basketball, soccer, tennis, really any sort of sport that you can think of. There are a few activities that don't quite fit into those 3 categories though, and these are our special activities. So these generally change from summer to summer, year to year, but there are a few that have stuck around because they're very, very popular. Like this class pictured here, this is called Ironwood, and this is traditional blacksmithing and green woodworking. We also have a class called Walks and Waterfalls, where campers go out for 2 periods at a time to a different waterfall. So we have over 200 waterfalls in this area in Transylvania County where Eagle's Nest is located, and we love to go out and explore the environment around camp. We do have a 5th activity period each day called Twilight, and this is our free choice activity period that happens after dinner each and every night. And this is an opportunity for campers to choose something different every single day. So there are a number of different class offerings. It's a great time for free swim down at the lake or paddling. There's always a fun arts and crafts activity or a big game down on the athletic field. And then each cabin also spends 1 twilight period working together as a group in the garden. So if they don't choose to take gardening as an activity, they will at least have a little bit of exposure to the garden and see where some of their food is coming from. So a few minutes ago I mentioned that we have a number of programs that campers can grow into over their time at camp. The first of these are added adventures, and these are trips that are 5 days to a week long that happen within the first 3 sessions. And these are trips that you sign up beforehand. They're for small groups of campers, about 8 to 10 campers and a couple instructors. And like I said, they're different each session. So session 1, which is our 2-week session, we have a trip called Paleo. And this is our primitive living experiment. So this is an opportunity for kids to go out into Pisgah National Forest for about 5 days to learn all about living off the land. They'll learn how to build shelters and make fires and track animals and forage for food. They'll also take their own food and shelter, but they'll learn how to do all of those things. Second session, which is a 3-week session, we have a trip called Huck Finn. And this happens during the middle week of that 3-week session. This group of campers will float down the French Broad River on a homemade raft, Huck Finn style, and they'll camp each night along the banks of the French Broad River. This trip has been happening for over 30 years, so the people who own the land alongside the river look for this group every summer. And it's very exciting. Even though it's the same section of river every year, it's a very different trip depending on the campers and the instructors, and it's just the adventure of a lifetime. Third session, which is also a 3-week session, we have a trip called Sea Islands, and this group will spend 1 week down on Cumberland Island in Georgia. And during that time, they'll get to learn all about coastal ecosystems, go swimming in the ocean, go fishing and crabbing, and exploring all of Cumberland Island. They'll bike around and they'll learn all about the history of that coastal region. So as campers age out of our traditional camp programs, they can apply to be junior counselors. This is for rising 11th and 12th graders. We select 12 junior counselors each session, and 1 junior counselor lives in each cabin. So they learn all about leadership and all about being a counselor. The kids really look up to the junior counselors because they're a little bit closer in age and they are incredible role models. And the majority of this group of people will go on to be counselors themselves in a few years. Finally, we have a program called Hante Adventures, and these are our wilderness and cultural adventures for teenagers, anywhere from 7th grade all the way up through 12th grade. These are trips that go all over the United States and all over the world. Hante Adventures have been happening now for over 40 years and have visited many, many places. Each summer we have a number of different adventures that kids can participate in, and this year is no exception. Our first trip is called Hante Waterways. This is a 3-week trip that's all about being on the rivers in the southeast. So this group will start at the headwaters of the French Broad River, which is the 3rd oldest river in the world, and they will float about 100 miles down to the city of Asheville. Along the way, they'll camp on the banks of the rivers and learn all about maneuvering their boat through mostly flatwater sections. Then they'll switch to whitewater boats and head out onto several different rivers and hone their skills in whitewater. And then they'll put their skills to test on Section 9 of the French Broad River, which are Class 3 and 4 rapids. But by the end of the 3 weeks, they will be very ready for it. We also have a group going to Maine this summer. They'll spend 3 weeks there really getting the best of what Maine has to offer. So the group will meet in Portland, Maine at the airport. And then they'll travel over to the coast and go sea kayaking for several days. And they'll camp along the beach and explore the coastal waterways there. After they finish sea kayaking, they'll head inland and pick up their backpacks, and they'll spend about 10 days hiking through the 100-mile wilderness, which is the northern section of the Appalachian Trail. It's absolutely beautiful. It's full of lakes and beautiful views and vistas and moose and all sorts of neat wildlife. Once they finish trekking, they'll head back over to the coast to Acadia National Park, where they'll spend 3 days rock climbing. And then they'll head back to Portland, Maine, and end their adventure there. We also have a group going to Italy. So this group will meet at the Charlotte, North Carolina airport, and then they'll fly over to Rome together, where they'll start their journey. They'll spend a couple days in Rome exploring and learning all about the culture and history of that region. And then they'll head up to the Dolomites, the beautiful Dolomites, where they'll spend several days, about 10 days, trekking. And along the way, they'll be staying in hiker hostels along a specific trail up there. It's absolutely gorgeous, and they'll learn all about the culture and history and learn Italian and eat great food, and it'll be an incredible adventure. And then finally, we have a trip on the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina this summer. So as I said, Hante Adventures started over 40 years ago, and they started with a trek on the Appalachian Trail. And we've done this trip every single summer since then. So we're always doing different sections of the trail, but this year we'll be kind of straddling the North Carolina-Tennessee border. It looks a lot like this big, beautiful open balds and grassy meadows. And this group will carry everything they need for 3 weeks on their backs. They'll hike about 100 miles and camp along the way and create a very tight-knit community and lasting friendships together. Back to camp. So Eagle's Nest is a place where kids of all ages can come and really, truly connect with the community and make friends that are going to be their friends throughout their time at camp and really for the rest of their lives. They can develop compassion for themselves and for their friends and for others and for the natural world and grow in confidence in everything that they do. So be that paddling down a river for the first time or just stepping away from home and coming to camp. They can connect with the natural world and forge those really important relationships with the environment. And at the root of it all, they can come and have fun and be joyful because that is what camp is all about. So as you can see here, our website is enf.org. I really encourage you to visit our website. There's lots to explore there, including many videos from the past several summers. So you can get a good feel of what camp is really all about. So at this point, I'm going to pass it along to Paige.
Thanks. So we have some time to answer some of your questions. Liz is going to field those and pass them on to me. Thank you so much for watching and listening so far. I can see that you're still all in on the webinar, so that's great to see that you're here. So Liz, if you want to let me know what questions there are, I'll be happy to answer them.
Definitely, and if you guys can look on the right side of your screen, you see the opportunity to ask questions, so please feel free to type those in. And like Paige said earlier, if we don't get to your questions, we will send you an email within the next day with an answer to your questions. So Paige, can you tell us how many campers are at Eagle's Nest each session?
Sure. So Eagle's Nest is a nice sized camp. We're fairly small. We have about 145 campers every session, and about 60 staff members that are working with those kids. So that's about a 4-to-1 camper to staff member ratio. It's a very nice size. We all eat meals at the same time. We have plenty of new people that we can meet and get to know, but it also has a feeling of knowing everyone who's there and being familiar with the people that are there. So about 145 campers every session, and as Liz said earlier, they're coming from all over the place. We have lots of campers from the southeast, basically from DC down to South Florida, out to Nashville, Tennessee area. That's kind of our main hub of the area where we attract campers from, but we also have campers from other countries, from much further across the United States, in California and Washington State and Oregon and Texas. So campers will be able to meet kids from all over the place.
Great, thanks. Can you tell us how cabins are determined?
Sure. So as Liz was saying earlier, we have 12 cabins at camp. Half of those cabins are for boys and the other half are for girls. And there are generally about 10 to 14 campers in every cabin and 3 staff members. And the cabins are grouped by peer groups. So that's most closely related to age of the camper and grade that they're in. So we're really grouping people together with the same peers that have finished the same grade that they've just finished for the session. And as Liz said before, campers do activities with their cabin groups like the cabin camp out or maybe a cabin outing early in the morning to Sliding Rock. Sometimes all camp activities are very cabin-centric, but they're choosing the activities that they want to take independently and on their own.
Great. Okay, I have a parent asking how they can communicate with their child while they're at camp.
Okay, great. So while campers are at Eagle's Nest, we really encourage them to write letters home, which are a wonderful thing for you to be able to save and keep over the years and read and reread. And we ask for you to write to your kids as well. Recently I was at a camp party and a parent asked me if there were any screens at camp, meaning phones or computers, and there aren't. The only screens that we have at camp are the screens that keep the bugs out of the cabin. And we don't allow campers to get on the phone or to use technology. So that's why we really encourage them to write to you, because we know that you're eager to hear about their experience at camp. I'm also available to answer questions for you because oftentimes campers will come to camp and they're so absorbed in what they're doing that they don't reach out to their parents and they don't let you know what's going on. So you can certainly call me or email me and I can check in with the campers or I can check in with their parents and let you know how things are going. At some point during the session, your child's counselors, cabin counselors, will also write a note to you to let you know how they're doing, what activities they're taking, how things are going for them in the cabin. So you'll hear from them as well. But it's old-fashioned letter writing. That's the way that you'll be in touch with your campers while you're there.
Excellent. Can you explain to us who the staff are at Eagle's Nest and the hiring process for counselors?
Sure. That's actually one of my favorite things to do during the year is to work on hiring and building the staff that are going to be working with the kids. And I think that the counselors that work at Eagle's Nest are pretty exceptional people. And that's really important because they're the ones that are going to be taking care of your children. They're taking care of my children who are campers too at Eagle's Nest. And so they need to be really hardworking people who have exceptional judgment, and I think that that's the staff members that we have at Eagle's Nest. All of our staff members are required to have a year out of high school before they can apply to work. Many of them are older than that. Many of our counselors are college students or recent graduates. Many of them are studying education. As Liz said earlier, we are really founded on developing the whole child by an educator, and I still look for staff members who are educators. I think it's really important that counselors have experience working with children and understand children, and that they also have experience teaching. They're definitely caregivers, and they're also teachers while they're here. So all of those things are very important to me. Throughout the hiring season, I'm reviewing all the applications that come in. I offer interviews with the staff members who look really good and who look like they've had the kind of experience that we need. And then I do personal interviews via Skype with all the applicants who meet that initial criteria. So we're able to have an hour-long interview on Skype where I'm talking with them and asking them questions about their experiences, about their judgment, and then we do 2 reference checks. We also do a phone reference checks, and we do background checks before we offer any contracts to staff members. Following that, staff members have training periods. For the staff members who are teaching activities like rock climbing, horseback riding, canoeing, they come in several days in advance of all staff orientation for 4- and 5-day orientation periods specifically geared to that skill that they'll be teaching. We also do a week-long staff orientation for the remainder of the staff, during which time they're learning about policies and procedures and teaching and how to help campers who are homesick, or a variety of different things that'll come up. So I hope that answers that question. There's a lot more I could tell you about staff. I think they're terrific people. They come back year after year. We have lots of staff members who will work 3 and sometimes even 4 years in a row. So they're dedicated people who are wonderful role models and caregivers for your children.
Great, thanks, Paige. We have a question here that asks, how are daily medications distributed and what medical professionals are on staff?
Great. Okay, so at Eagle's Nest we have a health hut. That's what we call our infirmary, is the health hut, because we really want it to be about healthy campers at Eagle's Nest. And the health hut is right in the middle of campus. We have 2 nurses that staff the health hut every session, and also an EMT that works with them. We have standing orders from a doctor in town, and when we need to, if we need to take campers in to the doctor, we'll make appointments and take them in as well. The hospital is also about 12 minutes up the road from Eagle's Nest, and the volunteer fire department is much closer. So if we have an emergency need, there are people that can get to us quickly, and we can get to help quickly as well. All of our staff members are also certified in first aid and CPR, and we do have some staff members who are also EMTs. And then the wilderness staff who are taking campers off campus have a higher level of first aid training, either as wilderness first aiders or wilderness first responders. But back to the question about distributing medicines, there are campers who are on medicine at camp, and typically they go to the health hut following each meal, right after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and right before bed. Those are the times for med call and also for sick call. So if campers are feeling not feeling well or maybe have a blister or other things, that's the time that they would go into the health hut. We also have first aid kits all over campus with EpiPens as well, and staff members who are trained in how to use those in case they need to do that. Let's see, what else can I tell you about the health hut? It's there, it's available. Staff members at the table are aware of the campers who have dietary needs, who have allergies, who are on medication, so that they can remind those campers to go to the health hut for their medicines right after the meal.
Great. Speaking of allergies and dietary needs, can you explain a little bit more about how we handle food allergies at Eagle's Nest?
Sure, absolutely. So Liz earlier was talking a little bit about the table families, which is one of the communities at camp. Table families are wonderful because, as Liz was saying, it's a time for campers and counselors to check in with each other and for counselors to know how their campers are doing. For me as a parent, I really appreciate that my kids are sitting with a couple of counselors who know how they're doing, who know if they're feeling homesick, who know if they are changing their clothes and brushing their teeth, and if they're eating well. So that's really an important touch place for me. It's also great for campers who have allergies because counselors at the table know of the campers at their table who have certain dietary needs or restrictions, and they can help monitor that. They can help the kids with that. It's a very good way to make sure things are going well for those campers. But we are able to accommodate many dietary needs. We have vegetarian and vegan options available. We have gluten-free options available. We have nut-free options available. We've seen lots of different dietary needs over the years, and we're able to accommodate them. We're not a nut-free campus. We still serve nuts, but we do have systems in place to make sure that those campers who have those allergies and others are safe. And food is great. It's really good. So I think that one of the questions that often comes up too is, well, how do you deal with a picky eater? Because we have picky eaters at camp, and we've found that sometimes they struggle, but sometimes they do actually a lot better than they do at home because someone else is there helping guide them, helping nurture their food choices. They're sitting together around the table. There are other campers that can help encourage them to eat and try new things. So actually, picky eaters can do pretty well at camp as well, but we don't put pressure on them. We don't. Food is a very much a comfort thing, and we don't want it to be something that makes the kids feel uncomfortable. So we're gentle and nurturing in our approach to picky eaters as well.
Great, thank you. We have a question here that says, I realized after my son finished camp that there were pictures uploaded almost every day. Is that day by day, or is it after the session that all the pictures are uploaded?
Right. As I was saying earlier, we try to get pictures of the campers throughout the session, and we have several people that wander around through campus and take pictures of the campers in their activities as they're going. This is our way of just kind of giving you a glimpse of what's happening at camp. I know from times that I'm away from my children, it's really fun to be able to look at pictures and see stories and blog posts about what they're doing. So we try to get those up so you have a sense of what's going on while your campers are away. I think that it's probably most difficult for us to be away from our children than it is for our children to be away from us because they're out having a lot of fun and we're home wondering what they're doing. So the pictures are really helpful for that. We don't upload them every day. We're typically taking pictures every day, but we upload them every couple of days, and it does go on throughout the session. Sometimes we'll continue to upload some after the session if we just have a whole lot available. Another thing that Liz mentioned earlier are videos from the summer. Over the past 2 summers, we've been able to do weekly highlight videos each session that are wonderful and are a lot of fun. I would really encourage you to go to the camp page, click on the YouTube channel, and go and look back at some of those videos from last summer. Especially, I would encourage you to share those with your children. They're a lot of fun, a good glimpse of what happened at camp last summer and kind of how camp feels. You can also access the Flickr page from the camp homepage and see lots of pictures from last summer, and you'll see what whoever asked that question was talking about.
Excellent, thanks. Okay, Paige, can you give us an idea of about the percentage of campers who will be returning from the year before and about the percent that will be new?
Yeah, we have a very high return rate at Eagle's Nest. It varies a little bit from session to session as well, but overall we have about a 70% return rate. So lots of campers are coming back to Eagle's Nest every year. Typically, the highest percentage of new campers we see in our fourth session, which is a week-long session. It's a shorter session, and so I think that's why we see more newer campers in that session. But in the other sessions, I think that sometimes people worry that their camper will be new and that they will feel new and they may not fit in and make friendships. Coming to a camp where there are lots of return campers. And I want you to know that that doesn't happen. At Eagle's Nest, our culture is to be very kind and inclusive and caring, and the kids who are old-timers at Eagle's Nest who've grown up here know that that's part of the culture, and so they do a really good job of welcoming in the new campers and helping them feel at home right away. As Liz said earlier, when people describe Eagle's Nest, they really do describe it as a community and as home, and it's really important for our new campers to feel that sense of home right away. And we do it in a lot of different ways, besides it being a very important part of the culture that the returning campers know about. We also are very intentional in how we set up the various communities, so campers find a connection and a point of belonging right away. So as Liz was mentioning during the presentation, we have cabin families, we have table families, we have tribes, we have the classes that they're taking. Right away, campers begin to be involved and to begin to have a community. So for example, on the first day that campers arrive, you arrive in the morning, parents will, check your camper in, you'll take them to their cabin, they'll meet their counselors, they'll start to meet their cabin mates. There'll be a welcome sign on the door that has all the names of the campers that are there. And then at lunch that day, so just a few hours after the campers arrive, we all gather together in the middle of campus right in front of the dining hall. And Liz and I read the names of all the table families and who you'll be sitting with, and the campers get a chance to come to the front porch and to go into the dining hall with their table family. So right off the bat, they have someone to be with. They have a table family. They have a place to sit. They don't have to worry about being alone and not making friends, because right away they belong to their cabin, and right away they belong to that table family of 6 campers and 2 counselors. So, and we'll continue that throughout the time to help them make connections, make friends, so that they don't feel new, but they feel a part of what's going on.
Great, thanks, Paige. I have a question here asking, what does AT Trek do other than hiking and camping? Can you give us an idea of a broad itinerary for AT Trek?
Sure, and Liz, you might want to join in on this, answering this question too. AT Trek is a fantastic Hante. I think Liz said this. It's the founding Hante of the school, of the Hante program, and it was started a very long time ago. And the goal for this trip is, or I guess what happens on the trip is they do hike about 100 miles, carrying everything that they need on their back. They're learning wilderness skills, camping skills along the way, but I think more important than that, they're learning confidence, great group dynamics. There's a lot that you can do during the day while you're hiking. I think sometimes teenagers might balk at the idea of an AT Trek a little bit because they fear that it'll be very physically challenging, or they have that sense of, we're just hiking all day. And I think there's a lot to just hiking all day. You can learn about edible and medicinal plants around you. You can learn about weather systems. You can learn about each other. And there's a lot of that happens throughout the day as you're hiking from one place to another. I said that Liz might want to join in on this conversation as well, because Liz just through hiked the AT last year, starting right around this time and finishing in September, I believe. So Liz, what do you have to say about AT Trek and the benefits and what else we do on those trips?
You made some great points. The Appalachian Trail is an incredible trail, and it is very rich with history. There's a lot to learn out there hiking together as a group about the wilderness and the trail and the group and yourself. There is a confidence and a joy that comes from backpacking through the woods and carrying everything that you need and realizing how easy it is to live very simply. It's a kind of joy that I've never expressed before in my life, and I think it's even better when you're sharing that with a group of like-minded individuals. So there is lots of backpacking. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's fun each night to get to camp and to set camp. You often get to make a fire and get to make dinner together, which is very fun. There are lots of stories to be shared as well. And then at the end of AT Trek, one of the last days of Trek, the group comes together and they will all go on a rafting adventure together to celebrate their journey and all that they've accomplished. And I can guarantee that coming back from AT Trek, these participants will have incredible confidence in themselves and in their group. It's an amazing opportunity, and it's an amazing trail to do it on, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say my children are both teenagers. My son is 16. He's in 10th grade right now. This summer he'll be participating in his third Hante. He speaks about them as being life-changing experiences. My daughter is finishing 8th grade this year. She'll be starting high school next year, and she will be doing AT Trek this summer. And I'm really excited for her to have this opportunity and gain the confidence that I know she'll gain on this trip. And I think it's a perfect transition for moving from middle school into high school and having that confidence behind her when she starts.
Definitely. Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. So if you have questions, please type them in so we can get to them. Paige, does Eagle's Nest offer financial aid or discounts?
Absolutely, we do. It's very important for us that we are able to provide the camp experience for lots of campers, for many campers. Last year and this year, we've been able to award over $100,000 in campership. We have lots of campers from various economic needs and backgrounds at Eagle's Nest. We have 2 campership deadlines, financial aid deadlines during the year. One is in December and the other one just passed. It was February 25th. So at this point, we have awarded all of the aid that we have available for the year. However, if you feel like you really want this experience for your child and you have a financial need, please get in touch with me directly. I can talk to you about ways that we might be able to help make that possible and see what we might be able to do. So if you are interested in that, you can get in touch with me directly. I'm going to go ahead and give you my email address. I know Liz will follow up with an email as well, but if you need to talk to me about anything, my email address is Paige, P-A-I-G-E, at ENF, like Eagles Nest Foundation.org. So I'd be happy to answer questions about financial aid or other things as well.
Great. Thanks, Paige. We have come to the end of our questions. Again, if you have questions, you can email Paige or myself, and I will be in touch also after this webinar ends. But hopefully we answered all of your questions, and if not, we'll follow up.
Great. So thank you so much. It's really nice to see that we have people on for our very first webinar. Like I said, please do visit the website. You can watch videos from the past. You can get in touch with Liz or with me. We'd be happy to answer your questions. We'd be happy to give you a call. We'd love for you to join us at camp this summer. I hope you all will have a great evening and that you're enjoying spring and enjoying lots of great time outside. Have a good night.
Thanks. Have a good night.